Hello.
Welcome, jazz musicians, hotel owners, and sound eating creatures, to episode 457 of an Unearthly podcast, streaming live on the 26th of July, 2022, and featuring the Ninth Doctor Adventures Fright Motif, written by Tim Foley and starring Christopher Eccleston as the Doctor. I am Bill Sylvia, the One in Black, and somehow I was not the last one to finish my re listen today. With me are actually a full cast, including our co-host Randy Ramson McCulloch,
Good evening.
color commentator Alex Fireheart,
God, I just couldn't think of a joke for this one. Oh well.
and technical director Mad Matt Winchell.
Missing additional credits for opening bottom of the night, originally from Chrono Trigger by way of Square Productions, and remixed by yours truly. One of my remixes I've actually not put up on YouTube. There's a couple of them, and some of them are really good.
Is that a tease for upcoming content?
No, just saying. There's been like a handful of them that I've redone in my private time and just gone, I like this better, but I'm not putting it up right now. Maybe if I
Gotcha.
feel like it. And then some of them just sit there and just go, I'll use it in other productions.
Ah.
It makes its way around somehow.
So how's everybody's week or weeks been?
I've had a
Not
hell
too
weekend at
bad.
work. May I go into detail about Hell Weekend really quick? As quickly as I can? So, I'm sure Randy can vouch for me on this one that we at least had tornado warnings this last weekend. Not sure if he was aware of them or not.
I was not aware of it happening because it was like, two counties over.
Mm.
But he told me about it later.
So, long story short, I'm at work almost the entire weekend, every single day. Saturday night was supposed to be a close. I actually got requested to close. I was only supposed to originally work until 8 o'clock. One of my coworkers preordained having that day off, and for some reason they still booked him, and he asked very, very nicely to have off, and I'm like, okay, you'll owe me later. Come to find out, an hour before close, suddenly we are hearing sirens outside, and sure enough, it's a tornado warning, and it's until 11, which means the store is basically closed right now, and we have to let everything sit for an hour. Go down to the basement, sit there for only half an hour, and then suddenly the lights go out.
Oh.
And the emergency power lights come on. We have to make contact with operations via our private phones because there's no other way to contact them because the power is out, the main line is dead. We eventually get the message that, okay, you need to go upstairs, you need to empty the fresh case, but right now you need to still sit in the basement because you still are in danger for the next half hour. But you also need to clean out the fresh case as soon as possible because it's an open air fridge. So we're stuck there an additional half an hour and 12 minutes cleaning that out and putting it all in the back fridge as quickly as possible. Also had to power down the registers because they actually work on backup batteries, which are plugged into the back of the registers. So get all that done and settled, and then I show up the next day. Not only have they not touched the fresh case stuff in the fridge to actually bring it out, they also moved it around, and I swear half of one of our major food products, had things disappear. I don't know where. I swear there was more of them, but we can't find them, and no one else could either. So they just vanished. Not only have they not touched it to put it away, they messed it up even more in the back fridge. So I had to get to that as soon as I could. But also after I got there, they still hadn't had to the card reading pen pads working. Out of the 3 registers, they only had 1 working. And it literally took me sitting there 5 minutes to get it working. And as I'm getting the first one working, I believe, shift manager was basically telling me, oh, that thing doesn't work. Don't bother doing it. It's supposed to be plugged in underneath. It doesn't work. About 10 minutes later, I just proved her wrong.
Yeah.
And then proceeded to do basically the same thing to the other register and got that pen pad up and working. How am I not a manager at this point? I should be at least a tech lead at this rate. I can fix all your computers. Just call me.
How many hours a week does the manager work there?
Honestly, I don't know. She usually works on shifts I'm not around.
With the amount of people that call out at your store, I'm guessing 60.
She actually they if you're thinking that managers take up all the missing shifts from other workers, that'd be a no.
Well, if they can't find someone to cover, on most jobs, it's usually on the person in charge to figure it out.
Well, more often than not, if they can't find somebody else that's a coworker to fill in for them, it just goes empty, and we become short-staffed. Yeah, it's happened a couple of times. As a matter of fact, this last week, and it sucks. Matter of fact, that was actually technically happening the last hour or two of Sunday when I was there, because I believe one of our coworkers got their wrist slapped for a week. Because they got caught not IDing someone who did not look over 30. So, yeah. When I left, they were already down a person by the time I was going out. With no one knowing if there was going to be a replacement, and most likely there wasn't. So, yeah, that's been a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was Hell Week. Other than that, oh yeah, my Death Stalker, not Death Stalker, my Death Dealer figure finally, I think about a week or two ago, said it was finally going to show up, and it did finally show up. He's now standing on top of my desk. He's pretty intricate for a little sucker. It was really hard to put that axe in his hand, though. That's a tight grip that fist has. On the plus side, he's not going to lose any his utensils outside of maybe his cape.
So, when was the last time I was on? Was that 2 weeks ago?
That was at least two. You missed at least the last 2 for sure.
It would have had to have been 2 weeks ago, because when I was out of the country, you had a podcast.
That's right. You were gone 2 weeks ago when he was on. So then last week he was off, and then the week after last week was off. So yeah, something like 2 weeks you've been gone. Since you've been gone.
Well, my health took a weird turn. I think I might have mentioned this 2 weeks ago, but I discovered my pills were being taken too late, causing me to not be able to sleep at night. And I was just getting over with that when my right nostril got clogged, and it was keeping me from sleeping at night because I couldn't breathe. So once again, my exhaustion creeps up, and if my exhaustion gets above a certain level, my coughing kicks in, and that makes it even more impossible to sleep. So I was in a downward spiral, thought I was going to have to go to the hospital. Finally got my nostril unplugged because it was plugged way up there. And I could finally breathe normally again, so I was like, okay. And then it took me a few days to recover. Rest. And unfortunately, I was almost but not quite ready last week.
just need another day or two.
Mhm.
Yeah. My problem was I get into the state where I want to move and do something, and my body's just like, oh, hell no, and drops me back into unconsciousness.
Ugh.
And I get that way usually, twilight, when I'm, just about ready to go to sleep, my body starts doing that. No, it was happening 24
Mm.
hours a day.
Hmm.
So, anyway, I've recovered from that, and
Mhm.
I've had a good few days.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had a decent weekend. I think I was still exhausted through Friday. And then Saturday and Sunday, I recovered quickly. And now here we are on Tuesday. I'm feeling a lot better.
Mm.
Oh yeah, today was not the greatest day, but it was like the bad things about today were kind of more bemusing than they were like, oh dear God, just get me out of here.
Ah,
How about the last week for the two of you?
so
Um,
on my end, it's I may have mentioned last week that I've definitely experienced jet lag more in from this trip than anything in the past. And that's partially because I spent a day and a half traveling, stayed for 2.5 days, and then spent another day traveling. So basically I traveled for as long as I was actually there, and my body has been kind of trying to figure out its circadian rhythm ever since. Uh, I'm kind of hoping that with the fact that the podcast forces a certain schedule on me, that maybe I'll take some melatonin after the podcast and actually get a proper night's sleep at the right time of day. Because I've that's something I've been struggling with for the past week, and I know
Like
somebody
the
mentioned
chewable melatonin?
uh, it's a knockoff of ZZ Quill.
Oh, I actually have melatonin gummies
Ah, I've
that
seen
I can.
those.
Yeah, you're supposed to take an hour before you're supposed to try to go to sleep.
Gotcha. But yes, somebody mentioned that sleep issues are a recurring theme with me. I'm like, yeah, it's very easy to fuck up my sleep schedule and push it later. It's very difficult for me to intentionally move it forward unless I'm just completely exhausted.
The melatonin will help with that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Even
But the thing
talking
is,
about melatonin
it
makes me yawn.
I've noticed it needs to be melatonin plus no screens, because if I take melatonin and then I sit on my computer waiting for it to kick in, it's not going to kick in.
Well,
Which
here's
I'm
my thing.
which I'm pretty sure any doctor or sleep specialist could tell me, duh.
Um, I will get um situated for bed, and then I will grab my phone and I will either read fan fiction or play an online game, and I will slowly, eventually pass out.
Hmm.
Sometimes this could be a bad thing. For nostalgia factor, I started playing Candy Crush recently, mostly because I love the music. And so I'm lying there. I wasn't even fully situated for bed. Um, and I doze off, and suddenly I hear this whomp whomp, and I look, and my phone had fallen between the crack of the bed and the wall, and I could just hear that Candy Crush music coming out of it.
Hmm.
I'm like, oh Jesus.
I guess that's better than your phone falling and having no idea where it landed.
Well, for I'd left the flashlight on,
Hmm.
so I could see the light shining up too. I had to borrow Aaron's T-square and fish it out. But I can tell you, I was about crapping myself because I considered that space the point of no return.
Uh,
You know, I figured it'd be cleaned out when they took my bed apart after removing my cold dead corpse from it.
and on
Oh,
that cheery note, how's your week been, Alex?
Well, I got back to work this weekend, and it was like, oh, well, my arms are sore again, so yep. Thought they would have had to have time to recover because I basically had 2 weeks off, but seemingly not.
Nah.
Granted, it's winter at the moment here, and it's actually been cold-ish, so that never helps. I
yeah.
basically always
Every now
take
and then I
Monday
forget
off.
you're upside down from the rest of us.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, and also I feel like I would have brought it up possibly last week or the week before, but yeah, I was recently told that yeah, apparently it's illegal for me to have my days off not have any like stretch where I don't have 2 days off in a row. So I will. So finally, I've been given what will be my new hours starting next Monday, and it means that I'll have Tuesdays off from now on. So I'll have Tuesday, Wednesday off. But now I don't work Sundays, which only really bugs me because Sundays would double pay for me.
Mm,
But
No,
apparently
you can't
the
always get what you want.
right.
yeah,
Sometimes you get what you
apparently
need.
the um yeah, I mean the upside is that instead of getting 4 hours and then double pay off that is that if they do call me in on Sundays from now on, I'll have to work an 8-hour shift, but I'll be getting double pay for an 8-hour shift. So it'll be more pay than I was getting out of Sundays previously, but my pay is probably going to take a bit of a hit because
Mm.
I'm not working Sundays anymore. So that kind of sucks, but um
Yeah, you
yeah.
got to deal with it.
I
Yeah.
I would have hated that rule when I was working full-time management, because what I would normally do is like I would work a 14-hour shift on Sundays. I would recover on Monday. I would work a 14-hour shift on Tuesday. I would recover on Wednesday, and then I would have 8-hour shifts Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I mean Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So
Mm.
with that rule in effect, if it were still the same job just transferred over with that rule, I would have been working two 14-hour days back to back every week because of that rule of your 2 days off being next to each other.
Mm. 'Cause
I
yeah,
I
like
hate that particular rule because I was always liking to specify my 2 days off.
Hmm.
Mm.
Either that, or I
Oh.
would have tried to use it to be like, okay, let me get work my 50 hours over 4 days and get 3 days off.
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah, like essentially what I had said that I would have wanted is just working like Thursday through Sunday for my 4 days, and then like if they need me to work Monday, call me in. But because of what they're doing now, and I'm not full time yet, which yeah, at this point, like I've expressed the interest before in like just doing full time at this point, but I almost feel like I'd want to work like 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. because I don't know if I could really handle a normal 9 to 5, because I feel like that would fuck up my sleep schedule even worse, because
Mm.
like I would be getting home too late for there to be enough lean time between getting home and like I would basically have to like I feel like I've said it to probably even then before, where it's like literally all I would do is get home, shower, sleep, wake up, go to work, get home, shower, sleep. That's it. I would not do anything else because if I didn't go to
welcome
bed
to
as
my
soon as I got
fucking
home,
life.
yeah,
Right.
because like if I didn't get home, shower, and just go immediately to bed, then I would probably not get to bed until after midnight.
Erin
I-
is took a bit of a hit at her paycheck recently because she's
uh,
temporarily moved to first shift for I think like 3-4 months. Thing is, she's actually enjoying it.
Yeah, I remember. I think she posted that it was her choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she elected to take some training courses and other stuff that were
Gotcha.
only available on first shift. But she's enjoying the hours. Yeah, she has to get up at like 5 in the morning, which sucks. Leave by 6 for an hour commute to get to work by 7, but she gets off at 3. And so she's able to come home and actually have an evening socializing with friends and stuff.
Yeah, if her sleep schedule works that way. I've noticed since I've been in grad school, I've noticed that any semester where my day starts before 10 a.m., I spend the entire day exhausted, and therefore I don't actually have this evening it looks like, because I just get home and I drop like a brick.
Of course, the funny thing is I was hoping that like even with the day changes and such that I would be working like consistent start times, but nope, I will be starting at 10 a.m. on a Monday, 11 a.m. on Thursday and Friday, and then 9:30 a.m. on Saturdays. It's basically going to be...
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's basically going to be a thing of... And it's only like 4-hour shifts anyway, which is kind of funny because it's like... When I saw the Saturday one, like internally, I'm just like, oh shit. But at the same time, it's like, oh well, finishing at 1:30 in the afternoon on a Saturday. That's not too bad.
Only 4-hour
Erin
shifts.
had
You're so
hoped to
lucky.
join us. Erin had hoped to join us here on AUP, but to be honest, when she goes to bed to get up at 5 in the morning, even if we started on time, she would be
Yeah,
in bed by the time we
This would run a
started.
little too late. Yeah.
Like if even if we finished at midnight Central Time, that's not enough sleep.
Yeah.
Unless she
you telling me
operates.
5 hours ain't enough sleep? I need to check my sleep schedule. What the fuck?
I need 8, so, you know.
I was going to say Matt doesn't have an hour commute, but I don't know what your public transportation is like. So you might have an
If
hour
I ain't
commute.
getting driven there, I'm walking, and that can be almost upwards of a half-hour commute.
Yes, I know what that's like. So I won't press that.
Yeah,
That said, it might be
8.
good to
Fortunately, I don't
transition
need
to
it in a
today's
row.
show.
Yeah, I was about to do that. All right. So, on tonight's show, we have birthdays and news. We have a bit of geek talk. We have my review of Shame from last week. And then we have our episode summary, our review, our final thoughts, and our ratings. So let's get into it, shall we?
Yep.
I really wish I had some more water because I'm going to be talking a lot tonight.
I must
First
be
with
thirsty. I just
birthdays.
finished my second drink since we started.
July 20th saw the birthday of Roy Skelton, who is probably the most famous of the Dalek voices from Classic Who. He would have been 91, except he died at 2011 at the age of 79. And of course, they never used him in New Who because Nick Briggs did all the voices.
Mm-hmm.
He did go all the way to Curse of Fatal Death, though.
Yes. And he started in I think Master Plan.
He actually he actually apparently his first story was the Ark, so he actually didn't start as a Dalek, it seems. But then he very quickly transferred to doing a lot of Daleks.
Yes. It was like every time you'd see Dalek, you would see Roy Skelton's voice in the credits. You go back to the early Daleks, and it's just like, where's Skelton? Anyway, the 22nd saw the birthday of Bonnie Langford, Mel, she of the loud scream, turned 58. Also on the same day is the birthday of Adrian Hill, who played Katrina, the questionable companion. Would have been 85, but died in 1997 at the age of 60. Or Katarina. I think she actually lasted between serials, so.
Yep. And she
Yeah,
was on a TARDIS.
Yeah.
just barely. I think she made it half of an episode into Master Plan, if that.
Mhm. Also, the first companion to die.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
The 25th saw the birthday of Cyril Luckham, the White Guardian, who, of course, was in The Key to Time and later in The Enlightenment. He would have been 115, but he died in 1989 at the age of 81. This is not surprising, because I don't know anybody in the acting pool that lasted to 115.
That would be
Um,
quite an accomplishment.
the 26th today sees the birthday of Eve Miles, Gwen Cooper from Torchwood. She turned 44. Also the same day is the birthday of Bob Baker, writer, co-creator of K9. He would have been 83, but he died last year at the age of 82. And of course, the Lost Story, we had a tribute in the front. David Warner, who is probably the second or third most recognizable voice in acting. Well, maybe the fourth if you count. Jesus, I think almost all the classic voices are dead now, except for Brian Blessed, but he's only accessible by
Depends upon
shouting.
what you consider classic voices at this point.
Well,
Hmm.
first on my list is Tony J. If you don't know who Tony J was, he was the voice of Shere Khan in Disney stuff.
Ah, right.
He was the voice of Megavolt. He had
Mm-hmm.
that rich,
That rich,
sinister
deep
voice.
voice, yes.
Yes. Um. The next one I would think of is Oh, what's his face? Severus Snape.
Oh, dang it.
Rickman.
What's that?
Yeah, Alan Rickman. Yeah.
Alan Rickman.
Alan
Yeah,
Rickman,
because
yep.
he has. And then I think David Warner's right after that because he has that upper class voice. You would remember him as the voice of Ra's al Ghul from Batman the Animated Series.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
If not that, you would know him for Loeb and Freakazoid. If not for that, you would know him for things like Tron and a couple
where
other
he
things where he
played
make
Ed
quick
Dillinger
appearances.
or, more
Mm-hmm.
importantly, Stark. But he just had that voice that you just love to hate. And again, that puts him right up there with Tony J.
Depending, yeah, he definitely in the 80s and 90s he played a lot of villains, but I think towards the end he started aiming a little more towards heroic roles. Although he did play one of the alternate universe doctors, which means he wasn't exactly a hero per se in that either.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, David Warner was born in Manchester. That might explain that voice.
Mm-hmm.
In 1941. He trained as an actor at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London. Ooh, that's top shelf.
So yeah, he got the big test.
He his first major acting role was in 1962, playing Snout in Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream. He joined the Royal Shakespeare Company, playing many roles, including Hamlet. Think of that voice doing Alas, Poor Yorick. Wow.
That is an interesting. That is interesting for that voice. But also
His
imagine that.
film
Imagine
debut
that
was.
same. But imagine that same voice though accusing his father of being a murderer.
Mhm.
Oh, I
Right
wonder how
here.
much his voice has changed over 60 years.
So he still
Uh,
sounded very much like that in the 70s.
yeah. His film debut was a year later in Tom Jones, and early television roles included playing alongside Bob Dylan in the play Madhouse on Castle Street. He became known for playing villains, including films such as The 39 Steps, Time After Time, Time Bandits,
Yep.
the aforementioned Tron, and Hannah's War.
All this time stuff, but he was never in Classic Who.
Somehow, yeah, you've managed to avoid Classic Who.
Yeah, he didn't get there until Dreamland.
Yep.
But let's see. In 1976, he played opposite Gregory Peck in The Omen.
Yep.
I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, he
Other
plays a
roles
photographer
included.
who's pointed out that a lot of weird circumstantial deaths keep happening, and he keeps capturing pictures of how these people might end up getting killed. One of which is actually the second Doctor, who gets killed by I believe it's like a lightning pole or something falling off a building and stabbing him through the chest.
Huh,
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine him making a face before dying.
Quite the face,
But
in
yeah.
fact, very much a screamy face.
Let's see. Other roles included parts in The Ballad of Cable Hog, Straw Dogs, Cross of Iron, Holocaust, A Christmas Carol, Portrait in Evil, Titanic, and Mary Poppins Returns. Could you imagine him playing Ebenezer Scrooge?
Yeah, that
That'd
was
be
the weird
easy.
thing going. That was the weird thing going through and realizing he played Bob Cratchit and not Scrooge, and I'm like, wait, what?
What? Yeah. No,
Ah,
this is silly.
that's a miscast.
Yeah,
I
this is silly.
mean, it was the
I'm
mid '80s,
I'm
but
hearing
even
his
then.
voice in my head. David Warner, doing that decrease the surplus population line.
Ooh.
It just sends chills down my spine. Why they didn't cast him in that role, I don't know. Maybe when he did it, they thought he wasn't old
Who
enough.
did they get for Scrooge in that version of A
Probably.
Christmas Carol?
Where is it again? George C. Scott.
Oh, that's the big one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can see
I'm gonna
why.
have to rewatch that version. I think
Yeah, I'm gonna have
Aaron
to
might
catch
have
that version. Holy smokes.
Well, of course, not that we have anything to play old. Well, we still if she has it on DVD.
If it's on DVD or if it's on streaming.
Yeah. Usually it'll pop up someplace close to the holidays.
Mm-hmm. Many versions do, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, David Warner died Sunday at Denville Hall, a care home for people in the entertainment industry.
One thing that I didn't realize until reading this announcement is apparently he was in a relationship with Lisa Bowerman of Big Finish, which explains why there were so many tweets specifically. I was surprised by tweets specifically like directed at her, other than the fact that I knew they had a working relationship. I didn't realize that there was anything deeper than that. So yeah, that might also explain why he became so involved in Big Finish.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Speaking of which, I wonder how this is going to affect the 60th anniversary special Big Finish was working on, because it was supposed to be Chris Eccleston and David Warner.
Right.
It depends on if his parts were finished, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, right, they might have intentionally done it ahead of time, maybe because of his health.
Or they could have also
And-
done it ahead of time just because that's how they schedule things and it takes them a while to
Oh,
edit.
right, yeah.
What I'm surprised is David Warner was never in anything Star Wars.
True.
Yeah,
that
that
is
is
a
the
little
one
weird.
thing I noticed. Yeah.
You would think with
Like,
a voice like that, he would have made a great Imperial officer somewhere.
Right.
mm,
At least
hell.
be a replacement for Cushing.
He
Mm.
actually, I take that back. He was in a Star Wars video game.
Ah,
Ah.
He played Grand General Brashen in Star Wars Force Commander in 2000.
Hmm.
I don't know anything about that,
me either.
but his big claim to fame was actually in the Star Trek community, where he played
Mm.
2 roles in 2 of the Star Trek movies. That of the Federation ambassador, St. John something or other.
Oh,
And then,
Force Commander is a strategy game.
Ah,
anyway, as I was saying,
Sorry.
he played St. John Talbot, the Federation ambassador to Nimbus 3 in Star Trek 5, which you would think would get him not invited back, but they cast him in Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country, as Klingon Chancellor Gorkin. Mind you, he's assassinated within the first, 20 minutes of the movie, but he's an important character. And then later on, he would play a Cardassian in, I don't know if it was Next Generation or Deep Space Nine, Gul Madrid.
It was Next Generation.
So, yeah. Oh, that's right. That's who he is. How many lights? Oh, Jesus Christ. That's a meme. That's a Trekker meme nowadays. And he
Yeah.
played that role freaking great. And that was around the same time he took on playing Ra's al Ghul, which he was another great role. And yeah, he had a million voices that he did in other things. Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, he was the voice of Jor-El.
Oh.
Hmm. Okay.
He was the villain Alpha in Men in Black, the series.
That doesn't surprise me somehow.
And of course, the Wing Commander movie, he played Admiral Tolwyn.
Less
Not
we
the
talk
greatest.
about. From what I hear from the fans, the less we talk about the Wing Commander movie, the better.
It wasn't bad. It just wasn't Wing Commander.
Yeah.
People need to realize when you work on an adaptation of something, you've got to have it 2 tiers. Is it good on its own? Is it good as an adaptation?
right.
It's kind of like Stallone's version of Judge Dredd. Is it a bad movie? Not really. It's a Stallone popcorn action flick. Is it a good conversion of Judge Dredd? Not really.
That's just like the I don't dislike the show Arrow, and I often enjoyed various plot lines of it. But even to this day, I look at Green Arrow in the comics, and I cannot reconcile them as being the same character. It's a good show, but not a good adaptation of that character, I think.
Yeah, you're ready. You're
Partially
ready for
because
Green
they were
Arrow.
writing him as Batman half the
Yeah,
time.
I was about to say,
Not all the
because
time, but half the time.
you're waiting for Green Arrow to come down and go, I'm Batman.
Of course, it's interesting to me that they only bring up and like I get why they don't bring it up, but it's funny to me that they bring up that he was in an episode of New Who and that he did Big Finish stuff, but they neglect the fact that he was in Dreamland.
Where in the David Warner announcement, it's mentioned in the second paragraph.
No, I mean like when and to be fair, there's only like so many characters, but I think it was on Twitter. Well, I found it
Oh.
funny that when I went through and looked, it's like, oh, he was also in Dreamland.
Yeah, you see, the thing is, David Warner was one of those people I would hear his voice and go, "That's David Warner." It was just, and that would make anything he was in more awesome.
Sadly, that would never save Quest of the Delta Knights.
Was he in that?
He played two characters in that. He played both a good guy and a bad guy in that one. The good guy died like halfway through the movie.
When was that made? Jesus.
Oh gosh, IMDb, Quest of the Delta Knights. 93.
1993. He played three things in that, one of which was just the narrator.
Oh, well, the narrator I kind of felt was the first character, good guy character anyways, so... Yeah.
Yeah, well, he received credits 3 times, so...
It's weird that the narrator would be a separate character, but okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at the rest of his stuff, and a lot of his stuff I have no idea. Oh, that's right, he was in Titanic as the villain.
As
I won't
a
hold that
villain,
against
yeah.
him. Well, the villain
Wasn't
for
the villain an
subplot.
iceberg? Okay, I was like, I literally don't remember any characters other than the main female lead, the main Leo lead, and the iceberg. But then again, it was long enough when it came out. I fell asleep every time it was on. So.
Yeah. That movie does not enter the male psyche well.
Because it's a horror movie to males. Where all the men on the ship just dying everywhere.
Well, let's see. It came out in '97, so I would have been 9. Yeah.
He was also in the horrific Tim Burton Planet of the Apes.
Oof.
Which was not a bad movie till you got to the ending. I mean, it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad, and then the ending just went, oh God. There's a reason they basically decided to ignore that movie when they made the new Planet of the Apes series. I didn't realize the George C. Scott version was a television film. Oh God, he was in Twin Peaks too. Man, he got around. He was in Bab 5.
Oh, he was in the Hogfather TV movie.
Yeah, the Terry Pratchett thing, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the horrible direct-to-TV version of Beastmaster.
Oof. You mean the TV series?
No, I mean the TV movie, Beastmaster 3, The Eye of Braxis.
Oh God, the Forgotten movie. That's still somehow they had the original actor. Yeah, when your second movie literally jumps to United States through portal because budget costs, yeah, your series has already gone downhill for movies.
Anyway, it's also in the television version of Sweeney Todd.
Oh, he was in Baldur's Gate too.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing his voice and going, oh shit. Anyway, I think we've said enough about David Warner and
Yeah, I think so.
waxed
we
poetic.
have beat this thing to death. Yes.
Hmm.
All right, going further in the news, we previously reported that 6 Big Finish stories made up the full slate of nominees for the audio drama category of the 2022 Scribe Awards. We could announce that the winner was The Ninth Doctor Adventures: The Curse of Lady Macbeth, written by Lizzie Hopley. I don't think that's on our schedule, but we might have to think about it now.
I think it's on our next season schedule.
Okay.
So it's already being planned for.
Well,
It's
that's
been
only
pending.
a draft. That's only a draft anyway. But so I don't think you were here the week we covered the Scribe Awards. But one possibility we suggested was just to take all of the nominees for the Scribe Awards, since there was all Big Finish, and put them into next season's schedule. So it's at least that way on the draft. But depending on what else, depending on how the centenary special and the 60th anniversary special work out, things might change.
Yep. When is the next season actually starting?
Right.
That kind of thing. All right. Well, so more news on that as it covers, but congratulations to Big Finish. Although, really, when it comes to audio drama, there really is nobody else
To be
that
fair,
comes
yes.
close. Big Finish has taken this niche and just dominated it.
Mm.
And not to mention, they've brought basically life back to every major franchise in British television.
Just British television.
Just British television. I
Yeah.
don't know of any other
'cause
countries they've gotten television from that they have rights to.
If they went into U.S. franchises, either Disney, Warner Bros., or Paramount would have tried to buy them by now.
Actually, I heard that somebody was making an attempt to buy Big Finish.
I don't know about Big Finish, but I know somebody's making a move on BBC stuff.
Is that a segue to our next article?
Maybe.
Okay, so Bloomberg reports that Disney has entered into talks with the BBC to stream Doctor Who. Their source indicated that this would be aired on the BBC as well, which suggests the deal would most likely be for a next-day release of regular weekly episodes. I don't see this happening.
Yeah, like, as I was saying to some people in, like, the first Discord this showed up in that I saw, like, the only way that the BBC would be willing to do this is if, like, Disney shows up with, like, 50 trucks just filled with money and then just, like, there, have that.
It's not just that. BBC and Warner Brothers has had a kind of strange bedfellow relationship for decades now.
Yeah.
If you go back to all of the videotape and DVD releases before the To Entertain got it, they were all Warner Brothers releases here in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
And if you go actually into some Warner Brothers stuff, they've made not only some very blatant references after this weird friendship has started, but also what started this friendship is the fact that they actually had classic Who Daleks show up in one of the Looney Tunes live-action movies.
Yes, actually, the BBC was rather upset about that. Actually, the estate of Terry Nation was upset about that.
The State of Terry Nation was very upset about that, but then after paying them to shush and going into further conversations, it seems that they had struck a chord with BBC.
Yeah, and we've seen them a lot in the Warner Brothers Lego movies. They made a few references.
Mm-hmm. And British robots exterminate. Ask your friends about them.
So that does sound like it's even less likely than it would look at first glance.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, they dropped a lucrative contract with Amazon Prime specifically to jump ship to HBO Max, which is of course Warner Brothers streaming service.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I forgot Torchwood and Sarah Jane were on HBO.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, they're all
so
there.
technically, they already are working with them. So Disney getting their hooks in them, not anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And good
Like,
riddance.
especially, or like, really, all you even have to say is they ditched Amazon
Mm.
to
And-
go for HBO. And,
I-
like, okay, yeah.
And I honestly, full disclosure, I probably wouldn't have even put this on our list, but every 2-bit site is reporting on this with clickbait and all sorts of stuff. So it's like, let's at least get ahead of it before there starts to be rumors and misinformation out there.
Yeah, let's just clamp down on this thing. This is BS.
Like-
this is
like
not happening.
Literally, the
Yeah.
only thing we know is that, according to Bloomberg, somebody from Disney has spoken with somebody from the BBC, and nobody wants to be identified. That's
Mhm.
literally all that the truth there is to report.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's I'm guessing because it's a big name that Bloomberg is semi reliable, but I honestly don't even know that for sure because I've never read them.
They're usually pretty reliable.
Hmm.
And yeah, it just means that somebody tried to open negotiation. Doesn't mean, and that at that point, Disney's offering money, and then the
Mhm.
BBC's going,
And honestly, with how some of these negotiations are, the very fact that this article went out might have been enough to cancel the negotiations.
True.
Yeah, it might have been their attempt even from Disney to actually maybe push for it to be a thing, and then that might have actually stroked
Mhm.
BBC the wrong way, and they're just like, nah.
Mm.
Well, it was probably also an attempt by Disney to cut the legs out from under its main competitor at this point.
Yeah.
Because right now it
Maybe an
literally
attempt,
is
yeah.
Disney and HBO Max going toe to toe. It's Disney and Warner Brothers head to head.
Paramount just standing there on the bronze trophy pedestal.
Yeah, they're sitting on the side taking in refugees
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
and not doing a bad job of it either.
Yeah, I know they've been making moves. I can't remember what they were though lately
Um,
from
New
Paramount.
series coming out in a week is the revival of Beavis and Butthead.
Holy shit! Okay, yeah, that'd be raising some eyebrows for sure.
Yeah, they released a new movie. I think it was at the beginning of the month called Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe,
mm.
and it was hysterical.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they've not. So they're at least back on the ball then.
And Matt and Trey have been releasing South Park like mini movies for Paramount Plus as well.
Ah,
They did the post-COVID special, and they just finished the Streaming Wars, which isn't about what you think it is.
Never don't cross the streams.
well, it's Matt and Trey, so I'm guessing it's urine.
Partially, but Paramount Plus is just, coming out with some decent shit.
Mm.
I can't cancel my subscription to that.
I've actually
Even right
been-
now, when there's no Star Trek being aired, I'm not canceling my subscription.
I've actually been
Of
hearing
course.
rumors and whispers that I think they're trying to get back on track with Star Trek 4, but nothing for sure on that. Just rumors
Yeah,
and whispers.
that's the big screen.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I know, there is something going on in production for Star Trek 4. And the cast is now signed on. The question is,
Who's gonna make it?
no, there's one person that has a scheduling conflict because it's supposed to start filming in December, and it's the guy that plays Bones.
Oh,
He's already committed to doing something that month. So they
Filming.
might be able to work around it. We'll see. Otherwise, it's going to be Star Trek without Bones, and
that's just
I don't
not
know
right.
if that's worth watching.
I
Yeah.
mean, they'll
Ain't right at
generally
all.
they'll either generally need recasting or to figure out how to work around the fact that the actor who played Chekhov
Chekhov,
died.
yeah.
They've said that they're not going to recast Chekhov.
They're just going to
They'll
explain him
just-
away.
They'll just, have a new character at Navigator.
Which is kind of a shame in of itself, but there's not much you can do at that point.
So I see
Yeah.
that Carl Urban has been involved in an ongoing TV show, and that he
That'll be
Yes,
the
recently,
boys,
that
I think.
and
that's
that
what's
he
filming.
okay, and then he recently completed, I don't know how recently, another movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's due to filming that TV show
Gotcha.
in December. Um and oh yeah, it's The Boys.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
that's
know
right.
that
That's the
big
Mm.
that
same one everyone's been talking about with him.
Yep,
Okay, yeah.
yep. He's due to film that in December, and Star Trek 4 or Star Trek, I should say, Kelvin 4 is supposed to start filming in December.
You're not going to say Star Trek 4 and me not, and I not, and have me think about anything other than whales.
Exactly.
Would it be amusing if they brought back Wales for 4 in this time too?
Wouldn't surprise me.
No, it
Star
really
Trek
wouldn't.
Regular Star Trek introduced everybody. Okay, that's fine. Star Trek 2 brought back Khan.
Even if it
Star
wasn't that
Trek
good.
3 blew up the Enterprise.
Oh, now that yeah, that's following through so far. So yeah,
So yeah, all like
next they need to steal a Klingon ship, somehow get the lithium crystals, and then go through time for whales and come back.
And then they can kill God again in the next movie.
yes, and
I'll
make
be
peace with the Klingons in the movie after. And then the seventh one, Kirk gets sucked into a rift in space. And there was much rejoicing.
yeah.
Okay. But yeah, you can't
Yeah,
do
that
Star
got us off of Disney Plus.
you can't well, you can't do Kelvin Star Trek without Carl Urban. You've seen
Mhm.
his bones. It's eerie.
It is eerie.
It's like
It's
it
really
is like
good.
the ghost of DeForest Kelly just possesses him. Anyway, yeah, I
Yep.
don't see Disney taking it. Moving on.
Big Finish.
Yep. Torchwood, restrictive items, archive entries, 31 through 49, was released on the 21st. It's written by Maddie Wilson and stars Gareth David Lloyd. So that's all the Big Finish releases we have in the last week.
Yep.
I guess we can roll some of this into the Comic-Con news discussion that was posted. Who here has been paying attention to stuff coming out of Comic-Con?
I've mostly only seen, in terms of stuff that caught my attention, mostly only Marvel.
I've not really been paying attention, just kind of things kind of zipping by lately.
I did try to look up to see if DC had anything, and like I think they were like, oh yeah, we might have Batman 2 in like 3 years, and like I think they might have posted like a trailer for one of the movies that was coming up, but there's
I
no
saw
actual
like
news.
still images that they're at least teasing Black Adam movie. So
Oh, that's
Captain
right.
Marvel
Yeah.
2
Yes, they
or
they
Shazam 2.
actually
Oh, there might have
no,
been a
it's not.
Shazam 2 trailer. I'm not sure.
There was a Shazam 2 trailer,
Mm.
and there was a Black Adam trailer. They're separate movies.
Oh,
Right.
It's going to
Yeah.
be the third one they go head to head.
Mm-hmm. Which they were both movies people knew were coming. That's why I was like, there's not news. There's just fancy pictures. I mean, I guess yeah. If I had realized they were definitely trailers, I probably would have paid a little more attention.
Yeah.
But it's not news.
Yeah, Black Adam's not in. Yeah, I mean, it feels weird to me that they're introducing Black Adam without Shazam, and instead he's
Mhm.
Well,
buggering
they're working
around
on
with the
they're origining him.
Yeah.
right. Yeah, and apparently giving him ties to the Justice Society of America, which
It is kind
interesting.
of funny. It sounds like they're introducing Black Adam in ancient Egypt right after Marvel did their Egypt show. I don't think that was intended at all, but
Probably
kind of funny
not.
way to line up.
Especially kind of funny when like they intentionally changed Wonder Woman to being World War One instead of World War Two.
Just like their Aquaman 2 is supposed to come out, I think, a few months after Black Panther 2, which is going to have Namor.
Yep. So the MCU went further than that and
Yes.
actually announced pretty much everything they're doing through 2025.
Yeah, everything through 2024, and then the highlights of 2025.
Yeah.
Yep. So right now, we are in Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that will conclude at the end of the year with Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
And apparently they don't count they have there's a Halloween special, Werewolf by Night, only on Disney Plus, and a Christmas special, Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, only on Disney Plus. And apparently the Hall H panel completely ignored both of them. So I don't know what I don't know. You can kind of guess which phase they kind of fit into,
They
but
sidelined the only werewolf hero in existence. Fuck you.
Which one is that one?
Werewolf by Night, I believe he's actually a hero character, pseudo.
Oh.
He's kind of like the Hulk, just horror themed.
I hadn't heard anything on that one.
There
At least that's what he was
much
in the comics.
information. All that I can find is that there's a Werewolf by Night streaming movie coming out in October. There's rumors that Moon Knight will be there, but nothing confirmed. No visuals, no trailers. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. From what I heard, the Guardians Holiday Special is the kickoff for Phase 5.
Okay, and that makes sense because, from what I understand, it's supposed to be required viewing for Part 3.
Yep. So then you've got Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Which will apparently have both Kang and MODOK.
Sweet. The Marvels, 2023. That's going to be pretty much anybody with Marvel in their title. The reboot of Blade.
Woo.
Captain America: New World Order, and then it's going to end with Thunderbolts at the end of 2024.
Oh, they're going to try Thunderbolts again? Here we go.
That's basically, it seems, going to be the Avengers movie of Phase 5. It's not called Avengers, but like it's the big wrap-up movie of Phase 5.
And then they announced 3 titles for Phase 6. Fantastic Four will be November 2024. Avengers: The Kang Dynasty will be in May 2025. And Avengers: Secret Wars will be in November 2025. And that's if they don't get pushed around, pushed back, etc.
Yeah, because that's what's confusing to me is like that does mean that like Phase 6 is going to be like either only a year or a bit over a year, but it's like what?
Yeah, a year and a half.
Yeah.
So Secret Wars, does that mean that we're going to get Venom and Spider-Man officially crossed over now?
So it's supposed to be based off the second event called Secret Wars, which was basically Marvel's version of Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah, this whole thing is phases 4 through 6 are the multi-dimensional phase.
Yeah.
Lame. That was also when the Skrulls attacked, didn't it?
That's Secret Invasion, which
Secret Invasion, never mind.
Which that is going to be a Disney Plus show in spring of 23.
Oh, that's right. Secret Wars was all on that battle world where you had different versions of...
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how they do that. I know I was paying attention to the Star Trek section of this, and as you might know, Paramount Plus has 2 hit Star Trek shows right now. It has Strange New Worlds, and the animated series Lower Decks.
Hmm.
It has other shows, um, such as Discovery and Star Trek Picard and Prodigy, and a few other things starting. But those are the biggest hits right now. And
Okay,
the
so
bomb
Lower
they
Decks has
dropped,
been really successful.
yeah,
Apparently.
it's been really popular. Um, I've mentioned before, I thought it went a little too Rick and Morty-ish early on, but it really found its vibe in the second season.
Okay.
It got really, really good, and I have a couple of friends in England who are absolutely addicted to it. I told them that the third season starting next month, and they're like, yeah. The big bomb they dropped is that the two series are going to cross over in season 2 of Strange New Worlds.
Yeah.
Now, this is interesting because one of them's live action and the other's animated.
Yeah, that makes me go, what? Yeah, not only is one 2D and one animated, but I believe the animated one is more or less like kind of next gen-y, isn't it?
Yes. Well, time travel and Star Trek, Matt.
Yeah, but still.
Maybe it'll be who killed Roger Rabbit? Who killed Roger Rabbit? But Star Trek.
I don't know. Either
Eh,
that or they're going to actually take the voice actors and turn them into actors.
Hmm.
I have seen the two voice actors that are going to be involved in this, and they actually do look quite a bit like their characters.
Okay.
A little bit of a hair redesign, and the guy that plays Boimler has to have his hair dyed purple, but yeah. And I can't tell if Anson Mount was joking or not, but he was talking about at one point you will see a more muscular animated version of himself.
Yeah.
hmm.
It's like I said, it's really hard to tell with Anson Mount. He's a very humorous person. Um, if you don't know Anson Mount, it's the one that plays Pike in Strange New Worlds.
Ah.
Okay.
He's the captain. He's the one with the hair that is its own meme.
Hmm.
But that's the big news that came out. There's a couple of new Star Trek series that are supposed to be starting, but I didn't get all the details on them.
One last thing that might be relevant for Marvel. Apparently, there's a bunch of actors from the Fox X-Men movies who have contracts basically saying that they can't recast those characters until the end of 2025. So if they have those characters in movies, they have to be those actors. Which makes me think that Phase 7, which would start in 2026, is when we'll really see a lot of mutants show up in the MCU.
That's when the X-Men will actually hit.
Yeah,
Probably.
most
Well,
likely. Or at least, or
yeah,
maybe we'll get a small team and then increase a lot more later on.
Yeah, we might get
Hmm.
small appearances like Deadpool.
they did a good job with bringing back Professor X briefly in
Mhm.
Multiverse of Madness. But that was a brief role, and it wasn't really the same
Yeah.
Professor
Yeah.
X. But I did notice, and I gave them points for this. They gave him the gold floaty chair.
Yep.
Finally.
All right. So that's pretty much what we know out of Comic-Con.
Hmm.
I didn't hear any real Doctor Who news, but that's because they're in a transition period. So
Right.
Yeah, we're probably not going to hear anything
It
until next year if we hear
it
anything from
would have
Comic
been
Con.
nice if they gave us a next episode trailer. Just saying, but
mhm. All right. So the next section's Geek Talk, and that's apparently all me. I took the weekend I was recovering to watch some movies that I was behind on because I discovered they were all on Stars. Um, The first thing I watched was Spider-Man: No Way Home. I loved this. It felt right. The setup was right. Seeing the three Spider-Men together was right.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing the villains, the way they became, it all felt good. It all felt well written. It all felt well timed. And I came out of that movie enjoying it and with a kind of renewed faith in the series, which had been waning, or, in the franchise, which had been waning a bit of late. It is definitely worth going to see if you haven't seen it, or, streaming it if you haven't. It is, it really could have been a departure point for Sony to step their Spider-Man away from the MCU, but they decided not to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's also be fair. This has been very lucrative for Sony and has helped keep them grounded.
Yes, it has, and it also lets the experts from the MCU come in and fix up their movies, because their other Spider-Man franchise movies have not been doing so well. Morbius, anybody?
Venom is doing fine apparently, but yeah, Morbius.
Venom's doing okay.
Yeah,
It's not
right.
it's not achieving the wonders that Spider-Man and the stuff has,
And
but
somehow
it's
I don't
holding its
think
own.
Craven is going to be breaking any records either.
Oh no! They've completely broken his character.
Morbius failed in the theaters not once but twice,
But
and has become a meme.
Yeah.
this movie is a great movie, and it's great to see the other two actors that played Spider-Man back in the field. And really, for Garfield, the guy that did the Amazing Spider-Man movies, it's almost like he never left. And Maguire does get that kind of that doctor coming back for a special feeling.
Mm.
Oh, look how much older he is, and
Hmm.
But they all pull it off pretty well, and it's just a pleasure to watch, especially if you're a Spider-Man fan, which I must admit the webhead has been growing on me. And that takes me to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which, if that movie did it right, Doctor Strange did it wrong.
Oof.
This movie, it didn't suck, but I would rate it as subpar. If you watch the Doctor Strange from Spider-Man and the Doctor Strange from Multiverse of Madness, you would think they were two different people the way they acted. Because Doctor Strange is, a brilliant man who can sometimes make mistakes. He's an absolute idiot in this movie.
Ouch.
He, picks up this trans-dimensional walking wave, and the first person he brings it to is the person that tried to mind enslave an entire city.
Why would
or
he
an
do
entire
this?
town, I should. Because he wants to use, because he wants to, he wants her power to, he needs her power to help, only then to discover that she's the one behind the whole thing. So,
You fool.
I'm not even going to that, because that reveal isn't even a third of the way into the movie. It's kind of a curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal. It does this, and then it's just like, he's just like an idiot the entire time. I mean, you have to watch that to kind of realize what's going on in the MCU, but to be honest, the movie doesn't make a lot of sense.
It kind of sounds like it slaps in the face of everything he's been doing since his introduction.
Kind of, and then it goes weirder as to why things are going on. And I don't know, it just didn't sit right with me. Maybe time will tell, but at the moment this is going probably just above Thor Dark World in my book, which is near the bottom of the MCU pile. Finally, I watched The Batman. They gave the Joker an origin movie. Why not give the Well, technically, it wasn't even an origin movie because he was already the Batman in this. But this is another movie I wasn't overly fond of because a lot of it is Batman talking in over narration into like some kind of journal, which really felt like he was Rorschaching the entire movie.
It does sound like he's Rorschaching.
Yeah. And other than that, it was low action, high. I mean, this was a movie for detectives. It's almost film noir.
Which could
Almost,
be
but not
interesting if
quite.
done well.
Yeah, this wasn't done overly well, but it wasn't that bad. It was kind of mediocre. Mediocre.
Mediocre.
So, yeah.
And to be fair, mediocre is bad enough some days. If you're boring, you're boring.
Yeah. It just didn't have the zing that the old Tim Burton movies had, because I watched those recently too.
Yeah, I don't always agree with the level of violence even Tim Burton gets into, but I still would prefer those any day over some of the other stuff that's been going around.
Yeah, but there's action. The action scenes in those movies are like every 5 to 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm. It at least keeps you entertained
Here,
and keeps you captivated.
yeah, and this was like maybe an action scene every half hour or so between 30 minutes of watching him investigate a location while Jim Gordon bitches on.
Literally makes you just sit there and go, Blade Runner was faster paced than this.
Yes.
And that was basically a noir
So,
detective movie too.
if you like slow detective movies, The Batman's no problem. If you want movies like you saw, the old Burton films, no, this is going to disappoint. And that's my Geek Talk.
Okie doke.
Now I have a review of Shame.
Yeah, which brings us back to you.
Yep. Like I said, I said, a good thing I'm not doing the summary today, because I would be at the end of this podcast going, wake up tomorrow morning unable to speak. Okay. So I listened to Girl Deconstructed before listening to tonight's one. And to be honest, I was grinning through most of the listen. It felt right. The Ninth Doctor's patter felt right. I could visualize every scene in my head. I enjoyed it thoroughly. It was very well, snappily written. It was very much felt like a first series Doctor Who episode, only without Rose, which made it even better.
Oof.
Actually, no, Rose wasn't bad in the first series. It was the second series where she dragged things down. Still, it felt good. The Doctor just confusing the hell out of everybody. and realizing what was going on and managing to save almost everybody. Yeah, I really liked this episode. I would give it a 4.5 out of 5.
I believe that matches me.
Yep.
Yeah, it does.
Yep. So now our average is a 4.25. Right down the middle.
All right.
Okie doke.
So
That's it
that
for that?
takes us. Yep.
Okay.
So stopwatch.
Yep. Tell me when to start.
Oh, wait. What?
No, tell me when to start the summary, as in when the
Oh,
stopwatch is ready.
okay.
I
I was
should
gonna
have just
say,
said.
I don't think
I-
I'm doing it today.
I should have just said give me a countdown, but I didn't.
Give him a beat, Matt.
3, 2, 1. Let's jam. Give me a start.
Okay. Your tone made it sound like okay. We open on a piano player named Artie and a bassist named Zazie at a Paris jazz club named La Cave. Zazie tries to convince Artie to play with her, but he refuses until the manager gives their slot to somebody else. Artie refuses to even stay and listen and rushes away. In the process, he meets a man who meets an unseen but seemingly horrible fate after Artie is out of sight. Artie arrives at what is revealed to be his full-time job, playing piano at a local hotel. He's scolded by his boss, a man named Maurice, who tells Artie to play the piano. Artie refuses, implying that the piano's out of tune, and a doctor happens to arrive shortly after, being mistaken for a piano tuner. After a short conversation with Artie, he realizes that Artie is unusually attuned to sounds, and the piano is also not out of tune at all. The doctor returns to the front desk, where the psychic paper informs Maurice that the doctor is actually a hotel inspector. This prompts Maurice to tell the doctor about a couple that's gone missing recently, causing the doctor to go investigate. The next morning, the doctor encounters Zazie in the hotel hallway when she happens to lead him to Artie's room, where Artie is complaining of a headache and has his door chained shut. After some prodding, the doctor pushes Artie to reveal that he started losing his ability to play piano last week and has some understanding that people around him are in danger despite claiming not to understand what is happening to them. Once Artie steps out of his room, the doctor feels a strange psychic presence in the hall. The presence is drawn to sound and eats a hotel employee who happens to be coming by. The other four run to Maurice's office, where he has a radio that the doctor uses as a white noise generator. The doctor heads to the Institute of France to steal some recording equipment and instructs Maurice to get a hold of a car. Zazie lets slip that she and Artie play at La Cave, causing her and Maurice to begin a long argument about the relative merits of jazz. The doctor and Artie break into Notre Dame Cathedral, where the doctor plans to capture the sound creature, but it ends up coming too soon and chasing them back to the car. They need to find a quiet place to throw the creature off, so Maurice brings them to an apartment where a man he used to know, heavily implied to be a lover he lost in World War II, once lived. While they are camped out there, Artie reveals that his mother died a month before, and the doctor realizes that grief is what drew the sound creature to Artie, not just his unusual sense of hearing. They discover that the sound creature is actually in the building with them. The doctor plans to lead it away, but Maurice refuses to let him and sacrifices himself to give them time to escape. The survivors make it to La Cave, where the doctor and Zazie talk Artie into playing. While Artie and Zazie play, the doctor uses his sonic screwdriver on an empty bottle to bait and trap the sound creature. Artie is now beginning to process his grief for his mother, and the doctor says his goodbyes so he can go and process his own. The end.
All right, you got it in about 3 minutes and 33 seconds. That's despite starting late.
That was almost a full page of notes, so I felt like I was sure it was going to go long, but that's what happens when you have full notes.
Okay. So, let's talk about what we liked about the episode. Alex, you're first.
Let's see. Specific thing, overall thing. You know, it's a little thing, but I like that there's only like one instance in this entire thing of anyone really being like, "Oh, you don't buy that all this shit is like real or whatever, right?" Everyone, like, for the most part, is just like, "Okay, there's some ridiculous shit's happening. We're just trying to
We've literally
survive."
seen it. Let's try to get out of this.
Yeah. Like, it's only done like once and then never comes up again. It's not like, "Oh, this is ridiculous," etc. It's like it's just limited to that like one bit of dialogue, and then everyone is mostly smart from then on. It's like no one's really like, "Well, you've already seen this weird shit," so everyone just sort of buys into it quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, at first I was expecting them to, especially Maurice, to resist a bit more. But considering that one of the first things he sees is one of his maids being eaten by the sound creature, I guess that kind of inspired him to have an open mind.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Mm.
Matt?
Ooh, I have two of them actually on my mind, but I think I'll go with the one I didn't claim last time, which is I enjoyed the music in this thoroughly. Not only the bit of jazz, which didn't play that often, but did play a little bit, and a little bit of piano music and other incidental music, but also the very, like, early 2000s sci-fi tracks when they were in the middle of an action scene, when they're running away or in the midst of trying to figure out a plan very quickly while trying to deal with whatever this monster was.
All right.
Which I guess is pretty good, an important thing for in episodes so centered around sound
Yeah,
and
the
music.
fact that they used everything that even the story itself mentions, and they use it to their advantage and when it's necessary to use them.
Mhm.
All right. Bill?
So the main thing that comes to me is I mentioned a variation of this last week, but I really like when they do audio dramas for stories that would not work so well on screen, but are much better suited for the audio drama format. It really drives the point to say we're not just, it's not just a second-rate TV story that they had to put on audio, but it's actually written for audio. In this case, the fact that it's a creature that you can't really see, it's driven by sound, and it's them controlling their amount of sound that is worth that is the cause of the conflict. All of this that would not make for a very visual story, but is perfectly functional for an audio drama. I always, I just some stories really fail to do that. So when there's a story that's so perfectly on point for that, it catches my attention.
All right. That's down to me. And I guess I really just love Chris in this. I had thought he was a little off in his first run of Ninth Doctor Adventures. He is definitely on par in these. He just feels like his old self.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yep.
think that's great.
Yeah, basically, I was calling it last time that his dialogue in particular is really spot on at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
All right. So,
combination of the writers and directors getting more used to the character and him getting back into an old groove,
Mm-hmm.
which I imagine
Yeah.
is even harder because we think we came to the conclusion that probably all of these Ninth Doctor adventures were recorded remotely, so they weren't in the room with the director or anything during any of it.
Mm.
As far as we're aware.
no,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, this is definitely how Chris got his groove back. Anyway, what we disliked about it, and starting with Alex.
Um, it's funny that I'm the Australian complaining about this, and it's for the most part it's a nitpick because it doesn't bug me too much, but Artie's accent is very like, this is definitely someone from England trying to do a very specific of the time period US accent.
Mm-hmm.
Happens.
Like I almost went with just like, yes, I see we have two characters that are explicitly French who do not sound French, but French accents could have been even worse. If they didn't hire French people.
Wait, the only French characters were the two who died right away, right? The two red shirts.
Oh no, Zazzy and Maurice are both supposed to be.
Oh, because
No,
the doctor specifically says to Maurice, "You don't sound French either."
Yeah.
To be honest, I just thought
Ellsworth.
that. To be honest, I just thought that was a joke, given his surname is actually Le Bon, which sounds very French, unless the idea is he just took it. But yeah, seemingly both are listed as being from France, so I think. But yeah, I just assumed Maurice, it was just like a joke about how he wasn't bothering to do an accent. But I mean, there's been plenty of things that don't. I mean, bloody Assassin's Creed Unity is entirely set in France, but they all have English accents. But yeah, but it was, so I figured, I'll let that slide because that was very much a nitpick because it's like, well, and even this is still a nitpick because it's like, it doesn't like ruin the story, but it's very clear it's one of those things where it's an actor trying to do an accent that they haven't really got a full handle on, so while it doesn't impact his acting like as bad as it can for some others, it still does feel like he's really trying to keep the accent, so it's impacting his acting at least a bit, and it's very noticeable. Like, even for me, because, like, normally I won't pick up on terrible US accents just because I'm Australian. So it's like, it's doable enough. But this was one where I'm like, not only is he going for a US accent, but this is, like, set post-World War II. So he's going for, like, a very specific
He's going for a
US accent.
1940s New York accent.
At least this isn't Evolution of the Daleks.
Well, yeah, it's also not Nicola Bryant saying glass.
Of course, it is funny
Okay.
because I'm almost like, well, wait, if it's audio and you're doing it remotely anyway, they probably could have hired an actor from the US if they really wanted, but at the same time, probably cheaper to just get people from London anyway.
Yeah, and I think Big Finish mostly hires by word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just kind of the feeling I get. That's not based on anything, but it's like they
hire by who's around.
Right, like they function like a mom and pop business rather than
Right.
something that's going to like call a union and look for a specific type of actor.
I mean, like, yeah, seemingly this actor has done like a bunch of other stuff with them, so he was just one that they had.
Yeah, they seem to have a
Oh.
core staple of VAs that do various voices.
And then they
And then
recruit
they-
every time Doctor Who is filming.
Yeah. And then they've got Doctor Who alum, who
Mm-hmm.
I just imagine they're at a Doctor Who table read for a new series, and Nick Briggs hands out a bunch of business cards.
no. He does that the day production ceases on a Doctor's run. He's just there with the big finish
He's
card.
just there
He's
with
like,
the big finish card. Here, call me in about a year or two.
For the craft service, stay for the audios.
Seriously, our craft service is divine, second to none.
Okay, Matt.
So, least favorite thing.
Uh-huh.
Honestly, at least early on in the story, I was having a hard time trying to figure out what they were trying to say for how the monster of the episode was looking / what it was doing. I think my original mindset was when the hotel maid got swallowed up, that it was more like the floor turned into liquid and then she got gobbled up by the floor or something. But now, in hindsight, now that I think of it, the way that they kind of describe it later on in the episode, it's like, oh wait, it was kind of like this invisible sound thing that just literally ripped her to shreds in front of everybody and just dissolved everything, a bit of evidence.
It was like a walking sound wave.
More like a walking soundwave tentacle monster that just got hold of her and just, again, ripped her to shreds in front of them. Basically, like, gelatinous cubed her right in front of them.
I was thinking more Displacer Beast, but yeah.
But yeah. Well, gelatinous cube, just that you can't see the gelatinous cube.
Well, Displacer Beast does tentacles. Yeah.
That too, yeah.
Bill.
I feel like they kind of wrote themselves into a corner with how to defeat the sound creature. Because at first it was like, oh yeah, they're just going to capture it in the cathedral, and then they're like, well, we have to sabotage this because then it's too easy. But then it's even easier later on, and it's just like, it seems how hard or how easy it is to capture the creature just kind of is at the whims of where we are in the plot rather than any sort of logical consistency.
Yeah, it wasn't like the Doctor was finding any new clues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anytime he was dealing with it, he was hiding from it.
Mm-hmm. Like his new clue was, oh, it was drawn by grief, but that really didn't have anything to do with how he captured it.
No. If he found a way to break the grief, but yeah.
Right.
That was written pretty hardcore. And my major issue was that there was a lot of points in here where I was not sure what was going on.
Kind of kind of my issue too, a little bit, like I said.
The cathedral and the bar at the end both confused me for a little while. Because I couldn't tell what was going on. It was too much of a cacophony. The beast noises did not help with that.
Yeah.
It's just moments of what the hell.
Yeah, apparently as it gets closer, it goes from imitating sounds to literally turning into weird echoey snarls.
And what the hell was going on? I don't know. Okay, apparently they captured it. Okay, fuck. I didn't get that from what was going on, but okay.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of my issue listening to it.
Yeah.
I think to comment on what I think would be related to that, when it's at the end and they're like, oh, we cleared out the room, and it's like, are they saying that like people actually like hated the music, or was it like the creature came and then everyone just vanished or ran away or died? It's kind of unclear.
Yeah. That was my
Mm.
brain too on that one scene too. It's like, what?
Mm.
Did they all
guessing-
die? Well, apparently
I'm
the doctor's
guessing-
alive, so they must not have died.
Right, like I'm guessing everyone in the room didn't die, or they'd be a hell of a lot more upset than they were.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so favorite scene, Alex.
Basically just the exchange. He only answers 1 in 5 questions, doesn't he? More like 1
More
in
like
10.
1 in 10.
Yeah. Because that is very like, without doing the I'll explain later, it feels very I'll explain later,
Yeah.
like in that vein.
It's very. I could try to explain later, but I won't.
Okay, Matt.
Could you please get us a car? What am I now, your bellboy? Yes, bring the Benz around in about 5 minutes. Pip pip.
All right. Bill?
I love the banter with him and the hotel owner in general, but that was
Mhm.
last really good one.
Right. So, I don't know when this story was written and if it's even fair to highlight this scene, but in the context of when this was released and when I listened to it, like there's a scene where Zazie is talking about like how everyone's lost someone over the past couple of years, and obviously she's talking about World War II. But in the context of this being released in like what was it, 2021, and listening
Yeah.
to it in 2022, like that is so fucking true that like I had to like stop for a moment and just like shit, yeah, like I was really vibing with just that. It's a truth, and it's, a grief that we're all kind of going through due to reasons unrelated to what's happening in the story. But if it was written intentionally, it was well done.
So this was released in August last year.
Hmm.
And I think it was
But I don't
that.
know when the script was written, is what I mean.
Yeah.
Probably 2020 itself.
Mm.
I guess the question is a matter of whether it was written / recorded
Yeah.
prior to COVID,
Like whether that
or
line was written with COVID in mind or if it just ended up being a coincidence. Of course,
yeah.
as the doctor mentioned in just the last story, there's no such thing as a coincidence.
Right. I mean, we did have like stuff in like series 12 of New Who be like, wow, it's almost as if they saw COVID coming with some of the plots in this.
Mm.
Or at least one of the plots in it. So it was very like, happy accident potentially,
Right.
if not intentional.
Okay. So my favorite scene is nothing quite so poignant. It was just a scene that made me smile. And that's when they fled from the beast and are hiding out in Maurice's old boyfriend's residence. And they're all wrapped up in a blanket to
This
muffle
is
the
a
sound
blanket
for.
fort.
Yes. Because my mental image is just seeing them doing this and just with that 1940s mentality, how embarrassed they are. And the doctor just grinning.
Yes.
The doctor is one to be amused by upper crust people having to do silly things.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, but he's just enthusiastic in general about stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that mental image just popped into my head and I enjoyed it. Now, least favorite scene.
Ugh. Let's see. God. Gotta listen to us 3 times. You'd think I'd have something. Unless it's just a matter of stuff feels a bit too nitpicky. God. I'll pass for now. If I think it's something that you guys don't take, I'll come back to it. Because, yeah, I'm blanking at the moment.
All
At
right.
least if anything that's like bad enough to warrant mentioning that didn't get covered already as an aspect.
All right. Matt?
Which one to go with? Yeah, I'm still not to say the one that left me the most head scratching at first, at least, was just the way that suddenly something is supposedly happening around said inmate, and then suddenly she's gobbled up, and it's just like, I don't even know what's going on. They're not really giving me any like audio visuals for this. All of a sudden, all I'm hearing is weird noises. The doctor's gonna save her, and then all of a sudden, a scream, and she's gone.
I did
Yeah.
find it interesting in that scene when the doctor is like, "Don't make any noise," and then he asks her a direct yes or no question and
Yeah,
forces
I
her
was
to
like,
answer.
I thought that was dumb. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not just even just the mental visuals. It's just that there's I also recall she did she I think she ignored the request to remain quiet at least a couple of times, if not also just from him asking silly questions at a bad time too. So it's like just a lot flawed with that particular moment. And it's just like, Doctor, you could have done a lot more to make sure that she got out of there alive. Not to mention the audio visuals is just kind of what. So,
All right.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm going to say there was the scene where the doctor is like, instead of trying to capture the monster, I should have been trying to heal you, and that's not automatically a bad scene, except it doesn't lead to anywhere. The next plan the doctor comes up with is to capture the monster, and it doesn't really have anything to do with healing Artie. So it's that line just set up nothing, and it raised questions that we wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yeah, like that is a confusing thing as far as
Actually,
I
I actually got that. Healing Artie was referring to getting over his fear of playing.
Not the grief over his mother.
You can't stop that grief. I mean, you're going to have
Right.
that grief.
And even the doctor points
True.
that out.
But like
But
the grief is what drew the monster, not the
the grief was also what was causing him to not be able to play.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, that part had to be broken. Which is why Artie had to be out there to play and get over it, because otherwise, it's that get back on the horse kind of mentality. And it was part of Artie's playing that was disturbing the monster. I remember that.
Right.
So my least favorite scene is the whole cathedral scene.
That was my
Not
number
because
two.
not just because it's confusing, but because, okay, so the plan is we'll lure the creature here, I'll record it, we'll use that to confuse it and trap it. Oh crap, the creature's here, let's run.
Failed
He
before
had
we
all the
even
tools
begun.
he needed. Yeah. Why didn't he start recording it?
Yeah, that goes into what I mentioned, where how hard it is to capture is really just dependent on where we are in the plot rather than any sort of logic.
Yeah, that was just I was like, well, that was pointless. You wanted the creature here. The creature's here. You just decided to run.
Hmm.
What the fuck? Okay. Final thoughts.
Yeah, this is having listened to this 3 times now, which was only really because the first, as I said to Bill before we started, like, and I think I said in the text chat as well, like, the first time I listened to this, I was doing something that held my attention more than the audio, so I was like, oh, whoops, I should probably give
Bad.
another listen.
Yep, that's a no-no.
And like, again, it's it's like last time, it's not that the story is bad in any way, at least not like egregiously bad, but it just doesn't hook me. So I'm just kind of like, well, that happened. Like, it's not bad, but it's not like great either. Um, and I almost think, and like going on Randy's point just before, I almost feel like this would have been better if instead of like 50 something minutes in essentially one part, if this would have been better being treated like a classic Who 4-parter or something, where it's 4 parts that are like a half hour, like 20 minutes to a half hour. Because then you would have been able to stretch out the Notre Dame stuff a bit, and you would have been able to do like character development in there or something, where they like, while the doctor's setting stuff up, they have a chat, but it actually gets room to breathe, and like Maurice and Zazzy get to talk a bit more in the car while they wait or something. I mean, 4 parts might be stretching it out a bit much for this, but generally like more than one. That's almost an hour, but yeah, I mean, I'll give it this much. It was, again, just like last week, this is almost an hour long, but bloody hell, it was a breezy listen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't feel like I wasted like, even though I'm not particularly high on it, I also didn't feel like I was wasting. I like, oh well, there's that 50 something minutes gone. Like,
You get through it and just like, that was actually pretty decent, even if it's not going to stick with me. I want any more of this.
Yeah.
Where's some more?
I mean, in a way, it almost has kind of a problem that it doesn't really stop to breathe too much, but at the same time, it's audio only, so you can't really have too many like quiet moments, whereas if this was a visual thing, they'd be able to convey more through expression and etc. without having to just throw a ton of dialogue at you. But even then, like, yeah, it's just a matter of this wasn't like, I don't know if I'll go out of my way to listen to this again or anything. This, your mileage may vary. But, again, it's not great, but it's also like there's worse stuff out there as well. It's very like good at best, forgettable at worst.
All right. Matt?
I will say that, like the first one, I would also agree with the idea that this went by really quickly. I will agree with the idea that it's very well written and very entertaining. I will say, however, the execution seems a slight bit off compared to last week. There are some moments, small though they may be, there were also important moments where you're just like, what just happened? And it happens a couple of times. So I think something with the planning there need to be tightened up a little bit better and given a little more details so that the viewers can understand what on earth, or listeners rather, can understand better what's going on in a couple moments that were supposed to be key to a plot and maybe 1 or 2 spots there. So it's not. I don't think it's going to be quite as high as last week, but I would still say this is a very good run, and the dialogue between characters, if nothing else, is exceptional in this episode again.
All right. Anything else?
That's about covers it.
Bill?
So I've noticed that for it seems so far for this box set that they seem to have fallen into a rhythm of the Doctor plus three other characters to bounce dialogue off of, which I think that part works pretty well. It's just enough to not be crowded at all, but to have enough people where it's not monotonous and boring either. This story, I think, was a bit more ambitious than last week's story, but I think it kind of missed a few targets as a result. It kind of struggled in a few places, mainly with consistency of the logic of the plot. It's not bad by any means, but it maybe could have used a bit more work or a bit more clarification in certain things. Ultimately, that's just part of the issue with some of these experimental Big Finish villains. I did find it interesting when I was making the title card where it looks like the jazz club may have been based on a real club, because I noticed that there was a uh, a jazz club that seems to have existed since the 40s with like La Cavo something in French. Don't know if that was the inspiration for this or not. Ultimately, I think this was a pretty decent story. Yeah, nothing really special, but not bad either. Also, I guess we could have done a historical fact check, but it really was not needed.
Kind of, sort of.
What was the name of the club in this?
La Cave, so the cave in French.
Yeah.
And this was supposed to take place sometime in the 1940s, so...
46. According to TARDIS, anyway.
40s, maybe 50s. I don't know for sure what they...
No, it was 46. It was just they mentioned it before. It was
So it would
just
have been around the time that it existed then.
Mm-hmm.
Near the end of the year that existed then.
yeah, I'd see. Okay. Just me left?
Yep.
Yep.
Well, yeah, I did not enjoy this one as much as I enjoyed last week's. I kind of thought it was a little confusing, and it did not pique my interest as fast as the other one did. All in all, I was just kind of like, not the greatest thing. I thought the writing needed to be tightened. The acting was fine. So it was mostly, I think it needed another pass on the writing just to tighten it up and make sure that you plugged all your holes. And, yeah. Did not enjoy as much. Let's rate it. All right. Alex is first.
You know what? I was almost going to score this the same as last week, but I think there's just enough against it that I'm going to dock it a little and it gets a 3.5.
3.5. Bill. Oh, wait, no, Matt.
Yeah.
Gonna
Matt.
say. So I'm just
Sorry,
sirloin
I
beef
started
over
going
here.
alphabetically for some reason.
Um,
Bill is technically after Alex alphabetically, but yeah.
I agree that this is a step down a little bit from last week. Hopefully things don't continue to step down. So for me, this is a 4.
I will continue the trend of going down 0.5 by giving it 3.5.
Do I want to give it a 4 or do I want to give it a 3.5? Oh, decisions. Or indicates to me an average good story. You know what? No, I said I felt like this was a that happened. I'm giving this a 3.5.
Ooh. You took a
Which
couple
drops
steps.
this down to a 3.63.
Which is the lowest scoring thing in this season thus far.
Ooh.
Mm. Well,
3.63 puts this at number 260 out of 400 and plus things reviewed. It is better than Big Finish Dust Breeding, and not as good as Big Finish, the Fourth Doctor Adventure, the Evil One, War Doctor, the Innocent, or Big Finish Master, which all came in at 3.7.
Lots of
So-
master stories came in right around this this spot, I guess.
Oh, also, not as good as Destroyer of Delights, which came in at the bottom of the 3.7 range. I missed that one. So there we go. 260 out of 400 plus things reviewed. That is all we have to say
All right.
about.
Oh.
Sorry, I lost the name of the episode. Fright
Fright
Motif.
Motif.
Oh. All right. Let us know in the comments what you thought of this week's story, if you have listened to it, or otherwise just your thoughts, especially on some of the news, maybe even the Comic-Con news that we covered. And don't forget to like the video if you've managed to listen this far, and subscribe on YouTube to get our exports every week, or follow us on Twitch to get notified when we stream.
Right, next time, we will finish our run of the Ninth Doctor Adventures, Series 2, with Planet of the End, written by Timothy X. Attack, or ATAC, and starring Christopher Eccleston as the Doctor. See you then.
I will not be here next
then.
week, but I will try to leave my comments. See you all later.